This is a video for a Colibri Dual flame pipe lighter. Alright, this is the internal valve, and this is how everything comes apart. Alright, now I'm going to put this together, but it's not going to be done. And I had this lighter come back, and I realized I repaired it for a gentleman. He sent it back, said the flame adjustment wasn't working, and I realized what happened once I disassembled the lighter. Okay, now what I want you to keep in mind, that this valve, even though there's multiple pieces, the parts are pressed in together. Okay, there's two ends it's pressed in, and I'm going to show you that as I assemble this lighter. But I'm not going to assemble it for a final finish. I'm going to assemble it as a video to show you guys how to assemble this, okay, and to give you some tips about taking it apart. Alright, now I'm going to leave the O-ring off right here on the corner, but I will show you where that goes. But when you start out with this lighter here, you're going to start out with this part. This part here, you see right here, this part is what's going to be pressed into the body, okay? Alright, and that goes over like that, alright? Now the next step is put your spring on. Now once you get your spring on, now don't keep in mind there is no ring right here, and there is a stopper on the end of it, okay? I'm just going to show you the basics. Where you find parts to repair that, well, you're just going to have to. I usually get some stoppers out of old butane lighters, okay? Or not old butane lighters, but disposable butane lighters. And let me show you where I get those from. If I could remember where I put everything. I kind of redid my valve system. You know what? We'll go through that later. Let's get on with the video. I want to get sidetracked here. Okay, and once you got this part, you're going to have this part here. Okay, all you see down in there, all that is that hole in there is a little orifice. And that orifice, where this stopper is right here, that orifice is kind of like I got right here, and there's a hole going through it, okay? So, and there's a little recess in there for this spring too, because if you'll watch what I'm saying, I'll put this in here, and you'll see how I can push that up and down, okay? Now this part here, this little part right here, this has to be pushed down in, seated, because this is a pressure fitting. But what I did the last time I seated this lighter in for this guy, I got a toothpick and I put just a little bit. You gotta be careful while you're doing this too, guys. Keep this in mind. I put just a little bit of blue Loctite right around this smooth area right here, okay? Just a little bit where it just kind of dropped and rolled around, so when I sealed that down, that would be sealed, okay? But I'm not going to push that down. Okay, from this point here, let's put these back in order. Move these a little bit. Alright, from this point on this end here, goes the first thing in there is the sponge. Or the pressure regulator if you prefer to call it that. Alright, Then you're going to have the little compression pin here. Now let me tell you what this does. Alright. You see this has got a couple O-rings on it here. And the reason is you're getting gas through here, these holes here that goes up into your sponge area. But the gas, this O-ring here seals off gas from coming out here. Okay. Now, this, okay, let me make a note how this works. Let me show you, just explain this to you how this works. You see this here little screw right here? This little screw goes inside this one, screws down. It's got a little O-ring on it. Once you adjust that one time, I recommend, if you ever take it apart, put a new O-ring on it. And this here screws into that. Now, what you're going to see happen here, you see how that protrudes through that screw? Okay. Well, that's going to be screwed into there. And when you adjust your flame control height, it's going, what that does, that pin's going to come all the way through here, and it's going to push up and down. It's going to push this here against that sponge, which is going to compress it or release it, all depending on whether you want a longer flame or a smaller flame. Alright. Now, what happened the last time is I put all this stuff in here. Let me just put it in here for you. See how that goes in there? Actually, you can't tell, but that's two pieces. Took me a while to figure that out. See how close that is? That's two pieces. Okay, now, then you're going to screw this screw in here. This little bitty screw right here. Now, let me tell you something on this. This little bitty screw here, this is the screw that you're going to adjust for your maximum flame height on your lighter. Okay, once you say you want an inch flame, say you want your maximum flame to go out maybe an inch and a half. This is the screw that you're going to adjust that with. What this does is this will clamp down on that little part that's inside here, and it'll push it against the sponge, and you'll adjust it until you get the maximum flame height, right? Okay, then after you got your maximum flame height and you put this here flame adjustment screw in, then you can make your flame smaller. You see what I'm saying? You can basically say flame height adjuster 1, internal flame height adjuster for maximum flame height, and this in here be your external one that you use for adjusting it outside your lighter. Okay, so, and this here O-ring that I got here just slips, and it'll, when you stick this back in, I think this might be the proper one. It might not be, but when you take it apart, guys, you got to be careful. Okay, this is just a video reference. I'll probably throw a picture in here too if I can figure out how to do that. Okay, now let's take it apart again. 1, 2, 3. Don't forget the little spring there. And don't forget that the sponge is on the inside of the lighter, okay? I'm not even going to mess with that sponge. Just going to leave it in there. This is it. Now, you can tell that this is kind of, I got a few little burrs on this that's keeping this thing from, it's actually sliding up and down far enough as it is. But when you're pulling these things apart, what you're going to have to do is, okay, when you're pulling this thing apart, you're going to have to heat this end right here with a little butane lighter. Heat this end a little bit. Then you're going to grab it from one end. You can see possibly that I scored this up grabbing it with a tool. You got to be gentle. You don't want to be crimping down these things real tight. They shouldn't. Once you heat this brass, it should expand it enough where this pops out. That's what I did on this one. And you want to do the same on this piece here. when you want to pop it out, you're going to have to heat it right up here by these holes here. Grab one end here and pull it out. Now, the reason that the flame height adjustment didn't work, in case Mike you're watching, is that I sealed this end of the valve in here. Okay, but on this end right here, I didn't seal that. And when I told you to adjust the flame height on it, you know, just screw out, it was actually turning this whole valve assembly, and it was coming out. Then it just lost all the butane. So it was this was a learning experience for me. So what do I got to do? Well, what I'm going to have to do is when I assemble this one together too, I'm going to have to put just a little bit of drop of blue Loctite just around it on the corner here. You don't want to get on the threads, and you don't want to get way up here, because see the holes here? See the holes? You don't want freaking blue Loctite up in them holes, plugging them holes up. See, there's a little bit of clearance between these holes, these top holes here, and this tube, and that allows the butane in. So if you put some Loctite on there and you're plugging up all them holes, your lighter isn't going to get any gas. So what you want to do though is just put a little dab, just get you a drop of blue Loctite and just kind of put it right here. Maybe touch it on the point, something like that, and just spread it right there. And when you put that together, you'll push that together, and you'll just let that assembly set, you know, for a day or so and let it dry. And that way, I should never ever have this problem again. Okay, now I'm going to dub, this is the first part of the video. I'm going to put it together and seal it and stuff like that. And I already explained to you how to do that. I'll probably have to put another little O-ring on the inside of that. And in case you're wondering, I think I can't remember what it is, but I grabbed my O-rings for that. I think out of this here. I got this off of eBay. Then there's some others you can get here too. All right, so just go ahead and you might as well grab these two, because these O-rings, you can just see how minute they are. All right, just very, very small. And it's what you're going to need to put. You're gonna need that to put on this little screw. Because if you adjust this little screw too much here, guys, like in and out, up and down, well, you're gonna see the little O-ring on there. You're just gonna bugger up that O-ring, okay? And it's gonna leak a little bit of gas out of it. That's why it won't hurt. After I take these apart again, I'll replace the O-ring right there for sure, and I'll replace the O-ring up toward the front of the needle valve here. All right. So anyway, Colibri Dual Flame internal valve system. Now also too, while I got you here, let me zoom out a little bit. While I got you here, sometimes guys, on these lighters, this here assembly right here, see this? This comes up. This is all one assembly, so you don't even really need to mess with this section. Sometimes what you can do is get by taking that valve out of here, okay, and disassemble it and fixing it. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to try to put it back in there, but there's a small little hole. This pin's got to go right through the hole in there, that size of a piece of metal. It's got to go in. That's a little trip metal for up here for when you close your lid. What that does, that little metal piece comes over this here and just pushes that down, okay, and closes your seat off here against your orifice inside your lighter. So sometimes what you can do is, you shouldn't have to take this top part off. You never have to take this assembly out, okay? All right, so that's that on that. Let's just be done with it for right now on that. Keep that in mind. I'm going to post a picture in this video, so you guys are going to have to save this video as a reference if you ever got to work on these lighters. all right? Because I'm just not going to work on these lighters all the time. These lighters are, you know, if there's a lot, see how much is involved in on one of these? If I burger up any one of these parts here trying to get it apart, your lighter's garbage, you know? So if you do ask me to fix your Colibri Dual flame, don't be, I've never burgered one up yet, but you know what? Something could happen. So I'm not going to take responsibility for burgering a lighter up because, you know, like Japan, when these lighters were made, and Colibri back in the day, you know, that made these lighters, they sold these companies, you know, parts, and if they had trouble, they wouldn't disassemble these. Like if they had a leaky valve or stoppers bad or something, they wouldn't disassemble these, fix these lighters. They'd take this whole freaking thing and do it aside, put a brand new one in there. Okay, well, you can't do that now because there is no parts. That's why fixing these vintage lighters, you know, it really is kind of tedious work. But you know, if you got a lighter that you like it, you know, it's been in the family a long time, and you want it to stay in the family, maybe pass it on down. Well, I understand that. You know, that's why I do these videos, to help people to be able to fix their lighters, or if they're, for some reason they just really can't, they can get a hold of me, and I'll do my best to see if I can help them out. You know, I ain't free. I do charge to do this service, but I'll guarantee my work. If you have trouble with it, then 6 months or so, send it back, you know, and I'll fix it for you, repair it, just like this lighter here Mike sent back, you know. But this is a learning experience for me. Now I know from here on out that, you know, particularly on this here valve, that I've got to put a little seat on that. I did not realize, folks, that came out. I had a heck of a time. I was trying to get this out from the inside, and I was sticking a pin down there and trying to push it out this hole back here. It wouldn't come out. And one day I stuck this in some MEK to clean it. A little bottle of MEK right here, which is you can look it up what it is. But and I took it out, and bam, this thing came apart. I thought, like, oh, holy moly, you know. I never figured that out. But anyway, you know, that's that. And we'll get another video later here and work on the second part.